What's up? What's up? Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. Today, I'm joined by Blademir Hernandez from LitterFreeLots.nyc, a parking lot litter pickup business that he started back in 2018 as a side hustle with the goal, hey, if I can make an extra $1,000 a month, that would be pretty cool. Fast forward now, 4 summers later, it is now a six-figure business, and we're diving into everything that Blademir did to make that happen. But before that, we got to take it back to the beginning, to the idea stage, the inspiration stage. What made you think, you know what, I'm going to go spend my spare time cleaning up litter from parking lots?
Hey Nick, how's it going? Thank you for having me on the show. I was looking at your website and I came across 99 ideas how to make extra money. So I was going down the list and I came across trash picking service, and I took a look at it and I was like, wait, let me see what this is all about. And I clicked into it and I actually started looking and at the article, and it was basically saying hey, you can make money picking up litter on commercial properties. So at that time, I was like, hey, this is something that I felt comfortable with that I could do. So at that time, I wound up seeing his name was Brian, and he had I wound up reaching out to Brian, and I sent him an email, and I said, hey Brian, from Clean Lots, and I was like, hey Brian, hey, by any chance, do you think that service will work in my area? And he got back to me. He says, anywhere where it's parking lots. And I was like, wow, okay. Oh, it's something that you probably do.
Yeah, so you're
So,
thinking, hey, this is a low startup costs, no specialized skills required. Is it going to work in my area? Well, yeah, I got parking lots around me. This is Brian Winch, you mentioned from Clean Lots in episode 266 of the Side Hustle Show. So he kind of gives you the green light. It's like, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
right, right. He had a book he on his site that he was like selling, and I was like, I thought about it and I was like, oh, should I read this book or get into it? And so actually, I brought the book and I read it in 2 days. And then at the end of the book, after I finished reading it, it had a phone number there, and it was like, "Oh," it said, "If you have any questions, please call me." Brian did, and I was like, actually, I picked up the phone, I gave him a call, and I
Okay.
was like, I started asking him questions, and Brian was, he was such of a nice guy, he was straightforward with me. He was telling me how he says you want to make sure you get started right away and don't waste any time. And I was like, wow. With that little talk I had with him, I felt like so much confidence that I felt like, oh, it's something I could do, in my area.
Okay. So what was your first step after that?
I started as a sole proprietorship. I did, and then I went up getting also a checking account opened up, business checking account, and then at that moment, I basically started. Once I have the business set up, you want to basically drive around to area parking lots that are in your area and see if you could get in contact with one of the tenants there and see if they could have you speak with them. They could give you the number to speak with the manager. So that's what I did. I actually went to one of the plazas that's next to where I live, and I walked in and I was like, "Hey, my name is Vladimir. I'm a local vendor in the area. My company is specialized in cleaning up litter and debris from parking lots. Do you know who's the manager and who?" And they were like, "Well, the manager's not here. I could give you his phone number. You give him a call." So I gave him a call the next day, the manager, and manager was like, "Hey," I gave him a call and I was like, "Hey, my name is Vladimir from Litter Free Lots. I'm a local vendor in the area, and my company specializes in picking up litter, debris. And are you interested in that type of service?" He said to me, "You know what? Could you come to my office on? Let's schedule an appointment to come to my office so we could talk." So I did. I actually scheduled an appointment with the manager. I went, sat down with him, and he was
Okay.
like, "Listen, I have this lot, and I have others. And I was like, wow. I was like, so from that one lot was he had like 8 other locations that needed sweeping. So that's how I actually started.
Wow. So, and he didn't ask for portfolio or references or anything. It's just like, hey, I'll give you a shot on this one, and if you do okay, we'll talk about the rest. Is that how it kind of went down?
The way when I went to his office, I was dressed professionally and I walked in. I had my business card, I had a little flyer. I handed it over to him and I said, I gave him a little speech of what I did, and he basically was he said, I guess he felt confident and he felt some type of connection with me, or the vibe he got from me. He felt like he was comfortable with me. And then from
Okay.
there he was just he felt, he felt, hey, I'll give this guy a shot,
Did you have an existing service provider? And that's always, with any of these businesses, like, are you coming in? Are you displacing, some part of the process that already exists if the business has been around for any length of time, like, or have they just been letting the trash pile up for, years and years?
Yeah, so basic with this location, what that I know, it was basically the tenants were sweeping in front of their areas. So whatever
Okay.
is in front of them, they were sweeping. So let's say there was like there's 5 storefronts, and they were just coming out and they were doing their area. And as soon as I got on and I started sweeping, you could hear the tenants like, all their trash the wind was blowing over to my end. But now that you're here, it's so much better. I don't have to deal with this stuff. So that's how basically the tenants were doing it themselves, and they were when I got on and I actually started doing the sweep, and you could see how happy they were, and they were basically happy to see someone on the property actually sweeping up.
Okay. And so early on, it was you going out there early mornings or late at night doing this sweeping and litter picking. How'd you know how much to charge for that first job?
Right. So what I did was I walked around the property and I said, how long would it take me to sweep this parking lot? And I walked the sidewalks. I walked inside the parking lot area, just like a walk that I felt like walking and acting like I was sweeping, and just I was like,
Okay.
all right,
Okay. I can picture you out
came up
there
with
with the push broom.
right. So it was just one of those things where I was just like walking around, and I was like, all right. And I remember looking at my phone, and I was like, let me see. I put a timer on my phone, and I was like, let me see how fast I could walk this property, and then I'll hit the stopwatch on the phone. And I was like, all right, it took me
Yeah.
to walk this property, it took me like 15, 20 minutes to walk, like 15, 20 minutes to walk the property. And then I went back and I was like, hey, all right. So from that point, I was able to find out the amount of time that would take me to be on the property. And then the amount of time. And then I, I times it about how many days they wanted daily. If at this service they wanted it daily, Monday through Friday. So I was like, all right, it'll take me 20 minutes per day to do this lot. Some days, that's the average. It was like 20 minutes to get it done daily.
Okay.
And at that point, I was able to like come up with the numbers and how much to charge them.
Yeah. What was the hourly rate you were shooting for?
So at the beginning, I was trying to shoot for like 35 an hour. So that was like my number. I was like, I'm trying to see 35 an hour sweeping up. And monthly, it was coming out to, I'll say 450, $500 a month. And at that time, I felt like, is this worth it at that price? But I was so like, it was my first account. I felt like, you know what, let's get in the door first. I felt like let's go ahead and let's just go in and at that price.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that end up being too high, too low, just about right? Like if the guy signs, he's like, oh, shoot, sign me up. Like, oh, I priced too low.
I didn't get the reaction was like I submitted the proposal for 5 days and I received an email and it was signed. And I was like, wow, okay. So it went through. It wasn't no. I didn't get any. Oh, the price is too expensive. I didn't get no reaction like that. It was more like I sent the proposal through email. Um, when I turned around, he says, "When can you start?" And the proposal was signed, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
like okay.
I was like, "Yeah, I could
Yeah, I
start
just added.
Monday."
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, I just added $450 a month to my bottom line here. Anything
Right.
I wanted to ask about startup costs? So I'm imagining like a push broom, maybe some trash bags, like and the logistics of what do you do with the stuff that you do sweep up? Could you speak to the equipment or other startup costs required?
I started with LegalZoom and I set up a sole proprietorship with them, and then from LegalZoom, I wind up once that was set up, I wind up got some supplies. I wind up purchasing a blower, um, a broom, and actually on I went. There's this company too that I wind up calling, and I wind up getting their litter scoop. It makes your life much easier when you're sweeping a lot. A lot of people use just a jumbo dustpan, and it takes them forever to clean. So Brian mentioned that in his book, and he said, "Hey, you want to reach out to this company? It's called Litter Liquor." It was, and I was like, at the time, I was like, Litter Liquor, and I wind up looking at their website, and they had different equipment to make clean up much faster, and I was like, wow. So I went up and went to the site and I looked at the different like equipment they had, and they had a large litter scoop, and I purchased that, and it actually did it. It made my life much easier. I was able to walk around, sweep, and once I was done, I was able to dump all the litter inside the dumpster right away, and it all
Okay,
in
so you
one
use the
shot was
on-site dumpster versus having to
right,
haul it away yourself.
right. So on they have um a lot of these plazas, they have like dumpsters on the site. So I would, when you sweeping up, you only picking up like, little items like paper cups, soda cans, cigarette butts. Hopefully they they put out before you throw them in there, but but just small trash, and then it doesn't accumulate when you're there daily. It's like a maintenance, so it's not going to be that much litter. But
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
so once you
litterliquorproducts.com. I see them. And actually, Brian's site, Clean Lots, is the second result on Google for litter liquor. So there you go. He's got the inside scoop on the tools of the trade there. Anything else helpful on the equipment
right,
side of things?
a blower. Does great when like sweeping blowing the dirt and on the sidewalk. So like you'll use the blower to like blow all the debris onto a corner of the lot, and then you'll have that area you could be able to just like sweep all the accumulate. Once it accumulates, you'll be able to sweep it up. And
Okay.
it leaves the property. It does a good job at like just blowing all the debris to a corner and just sweeping it up. So that's very
Okay.
helpful. A rake too is also helpful.
And are you going out in the after work hours to get this done? Talk to me about the timing of okay, I got this deal signed. I'm in business now, but now I got to go and do it.
Once the service is important to clean the parking lot when there's no vehicles. And what I did was it was serviced either really late at night or early in the morning. The parking lot that I was at first, it had like a 24-hour business, like 70, it was like a 7-Eleven. It had 24 hours. And I said that if I went there like around 11 o'clock at night, I seen that there were still cars there. So that lot alone, I had to be there, I'll say around 6 in the morning, and they weren't that. So basically the service needs to get done either early in the morning or or when once the businesses are closed, that's when you want to service the property. So it depends on
Right.
per location.
Gotcha. It makes sense. And that's why Brian pitched it as an ideal side hustle, because it's like, well, you got to do it, either before or after hours. And so, who does this
Right.
appeal to? It appeals to people looking for some extra income. So what happens next? So you got this one lot signed up. You're going out there 5 days a week. And do you say, well, I've got extra capacity, or if I could find somebody else to do this work, or this guy is happy with me and he's got these other half a dozen lots that he wants help with? What happens next?
I was actually doing the work myself for quite a while, and then as soon as he started giving me more work, and then at that point I felt like, wait a minute, I felt at that point I had to start bringing people on, and I wound up bringing like independent contractors to give me a hand. And basically, what I did was I'll take a percentage from whatever I was making. I'll take a percentage off the bat. So let's say if I was charging 500, I'll take, I was reaching for like 25% from that. And that was my next step, was to get other people to help me out. Cause at one point it was becoming a little overwhelming because I was like doing all the work myself. And I felt, I was like, oh, I'm going to need at least an extra someone to give me a hand. So when we're getting someone to give me a hand, and it really helped out. And then it got to a point I was like, wait a minute, I could just keep hiring people. I'll just hire another person, and I'll just could step back away from it. And so what I wound up doing was every time I picked up another location, it would be more like I'll clean it for a month, then bring somebody on, train them while I was doing it for like, I'll say a week, and then I'll bring the person on and be like, hey, this is what needs to get done. And
Okay.
if you do it the way I'm doing it now, you'll be all right. And so far, every person I got on, I did it that way, and it's been good. They've been doing what they supposed to, and the lot, is always maintained litter free.
That's great. So your split is aiming for 75-25, 75 to the contractor doing the actual picking, 25 to you as the business owner to cover marketing, overhead, profit, all the rest of that stuff.
Correct. Yes. And I felt that was my number. And it fluctuates. Sometimes, I'll try to shoot for. Sometimes there's not that much. Isn't It depends on the location, but that's my 25%, 21%. That was my range.
Okay. And then from there, what was the fact? I mean, just walking into more stores, asking if the manager's around, asking if you can have contact information for the manager, just kind of lather, rinse, repeat on this marketing process.
No, so what I wound up doing was basically, I did actually do a Google search, and I was like, commercial property managers in my area, in my area, I did. And basically, what happened from, a bunch of property managers came up, and I picked up the phone and I started just going down the list and making I'll call them warm calls. I'll say people call them cold calls, but it was more like warm calls to me, because it was more like pick up the phone and be like, hey, I'm a local vendor in the area. I specialize in picking up litter and debris. Um, are you interested in this service? Or and they were like, oh, send me some information. A lot of you'll get that. Send me some information. So what I started doing was basically I'll send them information, and there was more following up with that same person, being persistent, and just giving going down the list and basically giving people calls, and out of like several calls, and then just following up with them. That's how I was able to pick up more accounts from there. And once I'll get them in, usually one manager will have one more than one property. Is they always like, if you get in the door and be like, hey, you finished cleaning this property, I have two other sites, and could you check a look at them and get back to me on a price? I'm like, yeah, sure. So that one manager or owner usually has more properties.
when somebody's polite on the phone and says, "Yeah, possibly. Could you send me some information on that?" What specifically do you send them if you're unable to, you don't want to commit yourself to a quote like over email or something like that.
Right. So I'll send them a little. There's a flyer that I'll send out. I had a flyer set up explaining my service, and I'll put it as an attachment. And I'll say, it was a pleasure speaking with you. It'll be short and sweet, basically. I wasn't too long on the email. It was short and sweet, and I'll put a flyer there explaining what the service I did, and please call for an estimate. So I was doing that for a while. Once I would submit that, it was just it's also like following up. There's one manager. It was like I had to call him like 3 or 4 times to like close the deal. So it's always just like being persistent, following up, and keep calling like keep working the list. Keep calling people. The other method is just going out there. If you see a plaza next to you or a building that you're interested in cleaning, is um, usually those stores, that plaza will have like a mom and pops. You have the franchise, and I'll go to the one where the mom and pops at and speak to them and like, listen, do you know the manager's number, the owner? I'm interested in cleaning this parking lot here and there. Some of them will turn around and be like, hey, this is the the, the owner's name or the manager. Give them a
Okay.
call.
Okay.
So on the follow up side, it's just being like giving them being persistent and having a little script in the beginning. Like I always you always want to introduce yourself and be more. I try to like be laid back when I'm like making the phone calls, and it will be more not like I didn't want to sound like a salesperson, more like I'm at ease, and but let them know what I want. I'm here to help them basically. I'm here if you
Yeah.
reach out.
Did you find a lot of people are, price shopping the service, or the way that they're currently dealing with it is kind of like you described? Well, it's each tenant's responsibility to sweep in front of their specific store, but then nobody is necessarily in charge of the lot itself, or hopefully the landscaping company will come and do that, or just wishful thinking and the stuff blows off into some neighboring thing with the next storm. What kind of maybe objections or price shopping stuff did you end up getting during those follow-ups?
I'll get things like, if it rains, would you still be out there? And I'll tell them, I was like, I'll tell them the work will still get done. I was, if it's there, you'll get objections like, all right, I don't think my property needs that much, it'll need daily maintenance, but it might need 3 days a week. And
Yeah.
I'll try to like let them know, like, daily is better because it's a better maintenance. It becomes, maintenance. Um, and over a period, if you only doing it twice a week, litter accumulates, and then it will be, the next time that if you're doing it twice a week, it's better off you being on the property 5 days than 2 days. So I try to like I'll have those type of objections, or people will like they'll tell me things like who are you doing the work? They will like, are you doing, or you'll have somebody on the property? I will get that too.
Yeah.
So they will like, they wanted to know who will be on their property, and would you be able to, I guess if it rains and stuff, they wanted to know if you were still service their property even though it will, and it's more like rain or shine, we still out there, we'll get the work done.
Yeah, unless it's buried under a foot of snow in the winter, then there's not so much we can do. But we'll come back out once it melts, and we'll take care of it.
Right. So once it melts, right, correct, we'll get back on the property, and we'll just we'll do what we got to do.
How many accounts are you up to these days?
Say we are at 30 right now.
30 different
30
lots that
accounts.
you're responsible for?
Correct. Right. So we at 30 now, and still growing, and but besides the lots is what the managers the manager's office, they offer so many other things besides that. They'll come like, hey, do you do this? And I'm like, yes, we do. So they'll ask you, do you do window cleaning? Do you clean common areas inside the plaza? So those are like extra work that you could get while you are on these properties. So the income just it it goes from where you were getting monthly to what other additional services could be added, from illegal dumping to window cleaning, storefronts. The manager will give you ideas of what you could do too. It's unbelievable.
Okay, yeah, you become the go-to person for this type of thing. Hey, you're already out here anyway. What else can you do while you're here? Do you
Right.
have a rule of thumb as to what you say yes to versus like that's really kind of outside of my comfort zone or outside of my area of expertise?
Yes, of course. There's some things like I'm not doing any snow removal. I do more landscaping, but snow removal, that's something I'm thinking about it, but maybe in the future I'll look into it. But that's something right now that I'm not actually doing. And what
Yeah,
else?
so you mentioned illegal dumping, for example. Like this is when somebody just comes and puts a bunch of garbage into one place, and it's like, is that even going to fit in the dumpster that's on site? Like, what do you do in that case?
Right. So at that, these people come by, they will drop off mattresses. You can name it, and it's basically what we do is we'll take a picture, we'll send it over to the managers. Like, listen, this is what they left here in the lot, and they were like, please get rid of it. They'll send me an email, right? They don't want to. It's like, just get rid
Yeah.
of the property, and right at that point, I was like, all right, it's going to cost you this much. And they're like, all right, just get rid of it. And then I'll just bill them. Once I send the invoice, I'll bill them on illegal dumping was removed, and I'll put the item, what it was, and the the date it got removed and the time. And I'll actually attach a picture to what was removed. And
Okay, so they
um,
remember what it is or what the extra charge is for.
right. So it'll be added to the invoice. And you'll be surprised, like so much on these properties. You come across all these illegal dumpings. People just dump things next to these dumpsters, and the company is not going to take it. So they have to pay extra, the managers, to get rid of that. So
Yeah, that
that's
sucks.
something that's been going. You know, it's been
And so then you're
it's
you're a contractor, or you have to somehow get this mattress or whatever else it is to the transfer station or to the dump, or like, so what do you like? How do you handle that?
I'm at a point now that I have like different I have other contractors that do that get rid of the trash. So at this point, I'm playing more like the third man, and I'll already
Oh,
have
okay. So you
a
got somebody
list
like a
of.
specialist you can call, somebody who has a truck. Like if your guy's just showing up in a sedan or something, or yeah, okay,
Right. Yeah. So they do this for a living. I became real, with these build a relationship with these guys. So at this point, I could call them up at any time and be like, "Hey, I have this location. Can you get rid of that for me? Oh, I'll be there shortly." And as that person can't make it, I'll call the next one and be like, "Oh, I have this location. I have like they dump this at the site. Can you take care of that for me?" And so I went a bit building a little list of people I could call that specialize in removing junk.
yeah. Are there any software tools or other technology that you're using to dispatch your team or manage, who's going to what location on what day at what time, and manage the billing and invoicing for all these different management companies and all just across the different locations? Like at a certain size, it becomes a, I imagine, a reasonably time consuming job just to manage the beast.
So like accounting purposes, I'm using QuickBooks, and other than that, it's just been more. It's been emailing. It's funny. I use a lot of WhatsApp for some reason. I don't know if
Okay.
I'm
Like to
real
communicate
addicted.
with different team members.
right, team members that way, and my subcontractors, they love using that, and they send me pictures through that. So that's one of stuff I've been using. So it's mostly just text messaging, um,
And
for
it's fairly
like accounting
consistent. Like
purposes.
if somebody is on this particular job site or they have this particular route, they're doing that, week after week versus, oh, today I need you over here, like trying to juggle all these different chess pieces.
Right. So they're already out there, and they're probably going to be in the area. So it's more like, oh, I'm making a stop at this location. I should be there shortly, or it'd be like, oh, I
Okay.
could take care of it tomorrow morning. So it's one of those things where um I'll follow up with them too through like a text to see if it got done, and I'll let them know to send me pictures once once you got they finish the job. And that's been also working a lot of pictures, and the pictures in this way I could send over the managers. I'll send them all the owners. I'll send them the pictures of what got done, so they could see. That's like the best proof right there.
Okay. Yeah, right. Because they're managing it from likely not necessarily on site either. They're just, we just want to have some level of confidence that this work is getting done that we're paying for. You mentioned these, additional service requests. Say, while you're out there, could you wash the windows or could you take care of this other thing? Anything else that's surprised you as you've built this thing over the last 4 years?
Every manager I come across, they give me different ideas. Like the last manager I spoke to, he was like, "Do you do retail clean outs?" And I was and I was like, "Clean outs as?" And he was like, "Yeah, like turnovers. Do you go?" And he was like, "Do you go in? Could you go in there and just like once my tenant is vacant, could you go in there and just clean everything out and get rid of all that trash and clean it out for me?" And I was like, "Wow, that's I actually never thought about that." And I'm at these properties, but I never actually even thought about it. You could go in there. That once the property goes vacant, they all need somebody to go in there and clean everything out of there. So the next person, or when they do rent it out down in the future, that it will be just it'll be nice and clean. So that's
Okay.
a manager not too long ago told me about that. So that's something that now I'm looking into now.
Okay, adding that to the menu of services. Do you find that at this point people are finding you organically through your, local Google exposure, local Google listings, or you find like, nah, it's really about this proactive outreach, getting in front of the decision makers and being persistent with the follow-ups?
You know what's funny? Um, about like a couple of days ago, I had a website, a website set up like I was in January, and I remember I was like, I have to get a website now. It got to a point that I was like, I have to get a website. I didn't need it in the beginning, but now it's more like I have to set up a website. So I set up a website in January, and I actually not.
Oh, just
Oh,
this
I'll
year.
say
So you were 3.5 years deep into it before setting up the site.
right. So that's something
Okay.
that you don't need. To be honest, like I didn't need a website. I was able to get things done through making phone calls and stuff like that. But going back to I was got the site up in January, and I'll say 3 days ago, somebody found me on Google and was like, "Hey, seen your website. We have 3 sites. Can you please take a look at them?" So now, just so for the I did, and I asked them, "How did I was just curious. I was like, "How did you find my number?" And it was like, "Well, we did a Google search and we came across your number." And we came across your website, and we want to know if you could come check out on 3 parking lots we have. And I was like, yeah, sure. So not too long ago, I went and I took a look at them, gave them a quote. So it looks like we're going to be in contract and moving forward with them. And that same company is like, we have 10 other properties that we need also clean. I was like, wow. So just off of that, um, off of having this website,
Yeah,
I
see,
was
come on,
able to
people,
get
put your website up earlier. On the one hand, I'm glad like you didn't let it hold you back from getting started. But it's like, oh man, how many leads like that could have been coming in over the last few years? That's awesome, though.
I know. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I was like, yes, get your site up. If you could get it, it doesn't cost much, and it's what's crazy? It's you have I was looking at the newspaper and I came across there's basically the city had a program where they help you get a free website up and running, and they'll help you also set up a SEO for like a year. They'll help you out with that, and it's crazy. I don't know how
Oh,
many
okay.
people they if they take advantage of that, but that service is out there, to help people out. And at least in my area, I was able to I came across that in the newspaper where the city was helping small businesses get their website up and running.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Look around for what potential services may be out there. If that tech stuff is a bottleneck for you, or if it's intimidating. Yeah, there's lots of ways to get that done. So that's awesome. I'm happy people are discovering you now, and you maybe take a break from the cold calling or the warm calling outreach. But where
Right.
are you taking this thing? You're still doing it as a side hustle. You got these 30 lots. Are you going to expand outside of the boroughs? What's going on? What's next for litter free lots?
I'm looking into like drop servicing where people could come onto my website and order from the site, and then we could be able to like get a match and get them out there to service the property. So I'm working on that now. I'm trying to see where like if they want an area or a sidewalk swept, they'll just go onto my website. I'll have the pricing there ready, and they'll know like an estimate, and it could be a recurring. Um, it'll have a recurring price on there, or have a one-time price there. So that's what I'm looking at for more to getting done. More like a job servicing.
Okay, locally, or I guess you could be nationwide if you can eventually play matchmaker between a service provider and a customer.
Right. Right now so far I'm trying local, see how it goes, and if I could take this nationwide, why now? I'll shoot for it. You never know until you give it a try. But I'll start locally and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I think it's one of these examples that we've talked about in the past of a really kind of localized, fragmented type of service business where there isn't a a well-known like national brand that does this, at least to my that I'm aware of. And so there's a chance to
Right.
become that or build that even on a local level and say, oh, this, become the go-to player in this space, become the market leader. And then, by default, you can start to expand in a lot of ways. Do you see it becoming a full-time thing? Is there a revenue target that you're trying to hit for? Or it's like, yeah, you know what? I got a good thing going. I can manage it in my spare time. I might as well bank the day job while I'm at it.
I don't know. Like I feel like I could still continue the way I'm doing it now. But if the way it's going, if the accounts are coming in this way, it looks like it's going to get to a point that I'm eventually going to have to. How will you be able to manage both of them? So far, I'm able to handle it, but then I, don't- you know,
Yeah.
it's one of
What
those
do you, and you
things.
got a 1 month old sleeping downstairs? It was.
You're right. So right now, it's one of those things. Like it's probably going to get if it continues to build accounts. If I keep getting more accounts, I think eventually it'll get to a point that I'm gonna have to like focus on one thing. Then but so far it's working, and the reason why is because my goal is I'm trying not to do the cleaning myself. So it's important to get people and the right people to get the job done. And I think if you could start doing that, focusing on getting the right people in there, um, it makes your life much easier. But that's one thing. It's just getting the right people on the property, and they're out there. There's responsible people that will get the job done.
Yeah, it sounds like you've built it in a really smart way for recurring revenue to not require your direct day-to-day boots on the ground involvement in a lot of cases, providing this training up front, this over the shoulder, like, look, this is how I get it done, and then finding those reliable people to do it. I think it would be, a potentially attractive business to acquire for somebody else who is looking for that recurring revenue stream, or to continue to expand it. But I'm really excited with everything that you built and what you'll continue to build. So I appreciate you joining me on this edition of the Side Hustle Show. You can find Blademir at litterfreelots.nyc. Let's wrap this thing up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation.
You have you come across that there's you doubts, and sometimes those doubts will be like, oh, you have like that little voice telling you, oh, I can't do this, and then you'll go 2 or 3 days and you still haven't gotten nothing done. But what I say is, get past that little voice, that little negative voice that's telling you, no, I can't, you can't do this. Or if you could get past that doubt and that little voice and just try, just move past that and just start doing, setting up either is the business right away or setting up your business account. I think once you get off that point, I think it'll take off from there. It's just getting past that little. Everybody has doubts. If you could get past that, you'll be all right.
Yes, Quiet the Doubts. My friend Jared hosts a podcast for years and years called Starve the Doubts. But yeah, we all face the same fears
Right.
and questions, and we second guess all of these decisions. If you can just, those are probably totally valid, but just push them aside for a little bit, move forward, keep moving that ball forward, and good things come from that. So, Vladimir, really appreciate you joining me, and we'll catch up with you soon.